Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss odd two as model, and there is a basic difference between. There is not much difference between odd two and should, as both the models express ideal situation. They both express what is the best course for you to do. What is the best thing for you to do. But ought to is more formal than should. That's why we use should more than ought to. Okay, and should is easily pronounceable while ought to is not so easily pronounceable. So we use ought to when talking about things which are desired or ideal, mean something that is highly recommended for you to do. Ought to has a similar meaning to should. Yes, ought to and should have the similar meaning, means it refers to advisability or recommendability or the best course or best option available there, and best option available as well as the option is morally upright, a righteous option, a holy purpose. Fine, they both express the conditional. In other words, they refer to a recommended future action. They refer to a recommended future action, meaning whatever is chahiye is a future action. You ought to pay him back shortly. You should pay him back shortly. Both the models are here compared. Ought to and should. You ought to pay him back shortly. You should pay him back in the near future. She ought not speak so loudly. It would be better if she didn't speak so loudly. The meaning of ought not speak so loudly is it would be better if she didn't speak so loudly. You ought not to speak with your mouth full. You should not speak with your mouth full. So you can see both ought to and should connote the same meaning. Almost similarity of meaning is there between these two models, but ought to is more formal and strictly formal. That's why should is frequently used and generally used by people, and should is easily usable. Used less frequently than should. Ought to is used less frequently than should. Ought to is always followed by a verb in the infinitive with to, except in the negative form, where we don't need to add to. You ought not bracket में two you can see that two in bracket mean in the negative sentence you can remove two from ought to. You ought not ask so many questions. It would be better if you didn't ask so many questions. Ought to does not have a past form. There is no past form of ought. It is only used with reference to the present and the future. Ought to have plus past participle is used to express past regret. Fine. So whenever you are using ought to have plus verb third form, then it means you are expressing regret over not doing something. Means you had to do something and you must have done something, or you should do something, but you skipped doing that and you are regretting it in present. Fine. I ought to have kissed him when I had chance. I regret not kissing him when I had a chance to. Fine. So there are these are some usages of ought to, used to say what is right thing to do. Meaning what is the right thing, or what is the recommended thing, or what is the advisable thing for you to do. So whenever you have such a notion or such idea where you are choosing between options and you are recommending the best option, then you can use ought to in formal sentence. If you don't remember to use ought to, you can use should. And most people use should and they avoid this model of ought to. Used to say what you expect or would like to happen. Used to say, your expectations or your assumptions are expressed by ought to. Used to say what you advise or recommend. If you are advising somebody or recommending somebody to do something, then you use ought to. Used to say what has probably happened or is probably true. To a certain extent, likelihood is also expressed by with ought to. but that possibility or that likelihood or that probability is backed up with some logics or assumptions. Okay, so there are some here are some examples, you can look at them. They ought to have more parks in the city center. You can rewrite the sentence by using they should have more parks in the city center. So each and every sentence here you can write it with should. You can rewrite it with should. They ought to eat lots of fruits and vegetables every day. They ought to apologize. They ought to have apologized, but they didn't. They ought to have apologized, but they did. Mean they are regretting not apologizing. Such things ought not to be allowed. Such things ought not to be allowed. He ought not to have been driving so fast. Formal. Ought I to write to say thank you? Yes, I think you ought to. Ought I to say write to thank you? Yes, I think you do. You ought to. Children ought to be able to read by the age of 7. Children ought to be able to read by the age of 7. Nurses ought to earn more. We ought to be leaving now. This is delicious. You ought to try some. You ought to have come to the meeting. It was interesting. If he started out at 9, he ought to be here by now. If he started out at 9, he ought to be here by now. This is likelihood. This is some kind of probability. That ought to be enough food for the 4 of us. Ought not the water to have boiled by now. Ought not the water to have boiled by now. And further about ought, we use ought to have plus past participle or ed form of verb to talk about things that we were desired or ideal. That were desired or ideal in the past but which didn't happen. It can express regret. So whenever you are expressing regret over your past action, you should use ought to. Then the dog wouldn't have got out. The ideal or desired thing was that he locked the gate. We locked the gate, but we didn't. I often think that I ought to have studied medicine, not pharmacy. We ought to have locked the gate. I often think that I ought to have studied medicine, not pharmacy. It would be happier now if I had studied medicine. What is likely? Something that is possible to happen, but based on some kind of assumption or some kind of facts or data. We can use ought to have, ought to when we talk about what is likely or probable. The concert ought to only take about 2 hours, so we'll be home by 12 p.m. So you have been given an information that the concert is finishing in 2 hours, hence they can reach the home by 12 p.m. There ought to be some good films at the cinema this weekend. Fine. And the difference between ought to and should are similar in meaning. Should is more common than ought to. Ought to is more formal than should. There ought to be more street lights here. Means the same as there should be more street lights here. I really ought to walk my dog more. He is so fat. Means the same as I really should walk my dog more. He is so fat. Spoken English. In speaking, we normally use should as a tag for clauses with ought to. There ought to be a speed limit here. Should there be? Refer to. There ought to be a speed limit here, ought not there. But it makes you look awkward, it makes your expression look weird when you repeat ought not as a question tag. So you will use should there instead of in place of ought to as a question tag. We ought not to have to pay for basic medicines. Should we? Prefer to we? Should we ought not to have to pay for basic medicines? Ought we? Okay, thank you very much. This is all about ought to.